Living, he loved me. Dying, he saved me. Buried, he carried my sins far away. Rising, he justified freely forever.
Lord, we just thank you and praise you for this day. We ask that the words that you have given Father Don and Father Jim will fill our hearts and our minds with the knowledge of your word, and that we take to heart every one of the words that they just give us. In Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Please be seated. There were several children that found a dead robin. And feeling that a proper burial should be performed, they secured a small box and some cotton batting. They dug a hole in the backyard and made ready to dispose of the deceased. The minister's 5-year-old son was chosen to say the prayer. And so with great dignity he intoned, "Glory be to the Father, and unto the Son, and into the hole he goes." One more. Visiting his grandparents, a small boy opened the big family Bible. He was fascinated as he fingered through the old pages. Suddenly something fell out. He picked it up and found that it was an old leaf that had been pressed flat between the pages. "Mama, look what I found," he called out. "What do you have there, dear?" his mother asked. With astonishment in his voice, the boy answered, "I think it's Adam's underwear." This week, as I was praying and meditating on what the Lord asked me to preach on, or wanted me to preach on, he said his favor. And it kind of surprised me a little bit. His favor was nothing I had ever studied in the Bible before. And it's kind of just something, I think that we'd all assume, okay, God's favor is a good thing. You know? But there's a lot more to it than that. And we, as a people, are to seek God's favor. So let me ask you a question to begin with. Do you have God's favor already? The way we answer that question says a lot about our view of God, doesn't it? This word favor appears 124 times in the Bible. And it means grace or graciousness in the Hebrew. And in Greek, it means graciousness, especially the divine influence upon the heart and its reflection in the life of a person. Acceptable, benefit, gift, grace, joy, liberality, and pleasure. Favor can also mean grace, or that which affords joy, pleasure, delight, sweetness, charm, loveliness, as well as goodwill, benefit, bounty, and reward. There's a lot to favor. I think the best definition of the word is demonstrated delight. Now think about the implications of having God's favor. What that means. Having God's demonstrated delight towards you. It means preferential treatment that we show to someone. Acceptance, approval, or taking pleasure in someone. Have you considered that God takes pleasure in you? That He accepts you? That He approves of you? Favor is God's kindness and benevolence given to those who love Him. The favor of God can also be described as tangible evidence that a person has the approval of the Lord. Now think about this in human terms. When we favor someone, we want to be with them, with him or her. We delight in their presence. Parents, you know what it's like to be around your children and your grandchildren. You just delight being with them. And we connect with them in a special way. So the favor of God is God desiring to be with us, delighting in us, and connecting with us in a special way. So when we have God's favor, what happens in our lives? Well, God causes good things to happen for you. He causes you to go to the front of the line. Part of His inner circle. Did you know that Jesus had an inner circle in His disciples? Look at the Bible. Sometimes you'll see that. I believe it was James, John, No, Peter was in there. I'm not sure. There were 3 of them that were closer to Jesus. The ones he took for the transfiguration, as a matter of fact. His inner circle. It means preferential treatment from the Lord. It means that we get doors open for us that we could not open. In the same way, God shows favor to the ones who delight in, connect with, and give honor to Him. The first time in the Bible we see God's favor is upon Noah. That's in Genesis 6:8. The next time, it's Abraham. The next time, it's Jacob. You see a pattern? As it follows through the Jewish people. So what do we do to obtain God's favor? First, we seek more of it. And that requires, number 1, humility. In Isaiah 66:2, God said, "These are the ones I look on with favor, those who are humble and contrite in spirit and who tremble at my word." In Proverbs 3, we read, "To the humble the Lord gives favor." We seek His favor through our humility, recognizing our need and our dependence upon Him, saying, "Lord, we need you. I am totally 100% reliant upon you for everything. My next breath, my next heartbeat, every function in my body, I am reliant upon you. Everything that happens around me, protection, is dependent upon you." It means seeking His grace. Seeking His grace. In 2 Chronicles 16:9, we read, "For the eyes of the Lord run to and fro throughout the whole earth to show Himself strong on behalf of them whose heart is perfect towards Him." Now, in Hebrew, the word perfect means full, just, made ready, peaceable, perfected, quiet, and whole. To be perfect towards Him means we seek His favor more than we seek the favor of man. And this is where so many of us go awry, is that we seek the favor and the approval of men before we seek the favor and the approval of God. The favor and approval of men should come through God's favor upon our lives. It's God that grants us the favor of other men. In Proverbs 3, verses 1 through 4, you read, "My son, do not forget my teaching, but let your heart keep my commandments. For length of days and years of life and peace they will add to you. Let not steadfast love and faithfulness forsake you. Bind them around your neck, write them on the tablet of your heart, so you will find favor and good success in the sight of God and man." We gain God's favor by keeping His commandments. We gain God's favor by loving. Loving everyone, even those in our lives who are difficult to love. We gain God's favor by being faithful. Faithful to the Lord, faithful to others. Keeping our word, doing as we said we would. And then we will find favor and good success. Note that the favor of God brings success in our lives. And God also grants His favor to us to empower us to become like Christ. Favor like grace is an undeserved gift. It's something God bestows on us not because we earn it. It's given to empower us to become more like Christ and to fulfill our destiny and to do God's work on the earth. Favor is given to us to fulfill our deepest dreams. The ones from God that cannot be accomplished on our own. We talked about that last week. The dreams that God has put on your heart. If our dreams can be accomplished in our own strength, they're too small. We must dream so big that without the support that comes through favor with God, we can never accomplish what is in our hearts. Amen? While God loves everyone the same, not everyone has the same measure of favor. This is kind of hard to swallow a little bit. But if you think about it, not everyone had the favor that God gave Joseph. Jacob's son. He had special favor in order to fulfill God's purposes for, number one, the nation of Israel, and number two, for Egypt. But everyone is positioned to increase in favor if each one of us effectively stewards the favor God has already given us as His children. We can grow in His favor. When we seek His face with the favor we have, we increase in His favor. Think about it. We usually favor people who also favor us, don't we? And when we favor God, He favors us. So I think one of the real questions that we need to ask ourselves is, what have we done with the favor that God has already given us? In Luke 2, verse 52, we read a very, very interesting verse. Jesus increased in wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and man. Now think about this for a moment. Why would Jesus need the favor of God? He was God. He did everything perfectly. He was without sin. He was perfectly doing God's will all the time. Why would He need God's favor? You can see why He would need man's favor, and God would grant Him man's favor. But why would He need God's favor? I have no clue. I have no idea.
Whatever Jesus asked for, the Father granted.
Jesus being perfect, I mean, you know, have a perfect relationship with the Father. But if Jesus needs God's favor, how much more do we need? I think that's the important part of this that we need to take out of it. In Revelation 3, verses 7 and 8, and to the angel of the church in Philadelphia write, this is Jesus talking to John. The words of the Holy One, the true one, who has the key of David, who opens and no one will shut, who shuts and no one opens. I know your works. Behold, I have set before you an open door which no one is able to shut. I know that you have but little power, and yet you have kept my word and have not denied my name. That is favor. I've opened a door for you that no one else can open, and I have closed the door that no one else can close. All you need to do is walk through it. And this passage refers back to a man named Eliakim out of Isaiah 22:2. And the key of the house of David is laid upon this man Eliakim's shoulder, and he alone has power to open and shut, this being symbolic of his absolute authority as the king's representative. So think about that in your own life. As you receive God's favor, you receive His authority to act on His behalf. This man, Eliakim's signature was the same as having the king's signature. The favor of God bestows His authority and opens doors that no one can shut. This reminds me of the old show. Remember the show Get Smart? Remember the introduction? And all these doors are opening as he walks towards them. He doesn't have to do anything, they just open. That's favor. It's the same thing. God opens these doors for us when we have His favor. And the Bible tells us that we should seek His favor. In Zechariah 8, verses 21 and 22, we read, "The inhabitants of one city shall go to another, saying, Let us go at once to entreat the favor of the Lord and to seek the Lord of hosts. I myself am going. Many peoples and strong nations shall come to seek the Lord of hosts in Jerusalem and to entreat the favor of the Lord." And the Bible is filled with people on whom God's favor rested. Joseph, as I mentioned before, experienced God's favor, and he went from the prison to the palace. God's favor was upon him to save two nations, Egypt and the future nation of Israel. And there was David. God's favor was upon David. Gideon, defeating the Amalekites, I think it was, with 300 men. Solomon, Noah, and Ruth. And, as we read about in our Old Testament lesson this morning, Esther. God granted her special favor and put her in a special position and opened a door for her that, I mean, think of all the women that were in that group to be chosen to be queen. He opened a door for her that only he could open to save the nation of Israel. He granted her favor for his purpose. In the book of wisdom, in the book of Proverbs, chapter 8, this is personified wisdom speaking. And now, O sons, listen to me. Blessed are those who keep my ways. Hear instruction and be wise, and do not neglect it. Blessed is the one who listens to me, watching daily at my gates, waiting beside my doors. For whoever finds me finds life and obtains favor from the Lord. But he who fails to find me injures himself. All who hate me love death. So also, to obtain God's favor, we seek his wisdom. God's favor will grant us favor with men and with circumstances. It'll open those doors like Agent 86. We need his favor to function in the world. And when you begin to walk in the favor and blessing of the Lord, others will recognize it. You know people that everything good seems to happen to? Yeah? The favor and blessing of God on your life is one of the most powerful things that can be released to you. And it's also a very powerful witness to those around you. As I was researching for this sermon, I found one quote. I don't remember who said it. He said, "You don't need money, you need God's favor." Good point, isn't it? So I'd ask you, in concluding, to please pray for God's favor. Seek his face. Seek his heart in your life. For yourself, for this congregation. He's ready to pour it out. He's ready to pour it out. And one thing that the Lord has put in my heart in the last couple of weeks is I am so convinced that God is going to begin releasing a lot of good stuff here. That we are going to see healings, we're going to see power and authority released here. I just have this really, really strong sense that this is going to happen. And we're starting to see it in individuals' lives here. What God is doing amazing, amazing things, transforming lives. So let's pray into that. Let's believe that. And let's wait anxiously as he does what only he can do in our midst. Amen.
Living, he loved me. Dying, he saved me. Buried, he carried my sins far away. Rising, he justified. Freely